we broached another topic that we wanted to discuss.
Yeah.
Go ahead and run it down for him, Doc.
Oh boy. Okay, here's a tough one. This is a tough one, but a lot of people have their own feelings about it.
Oh, they got some feelings about
it. Now, a couple weeks ago, you asked me a question about how I feel about prosperity preaching, and last week you said, "What can the church do to help Black men?"
Right.
You and I have some. I think that our thoughts may be along the same lines, but we come from two different places.
Right.
And for artists, if y'all don't know, my other job is I'm in the church. You know, I'm a minister. I do that. So I'm in it. I've been in it officially for the past 7 years. Right. I'm not gonna say I grew up in the church, but I've been around it for my whole life. So my viewpoint is a bit different. So Lion, man, I'm gonna toss it back to you. Let's talk. Let's ask some questions and let's see what come out of it.
Okay, so I live in the city of East Point, Atlanta, Georgia. And people have gotten to the habit of calling Atlanta America Wakanda. All right?
Yeah.
So if Atlanta is the American Wakanda, East Point is the capital city.
Ooh.
You got Tyler Perry Studios on one end, and you got Mr. J. Morrison and the Legacy Center on the other end. Now, I went to an event held by Jay Morrison not too long ago, and he was advertising some stuff, and I'm in like a little text group where he give little stuff out every day, and one of the things he do once a week, he had what he calls Money Church.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I sat on it and watched it a couple times. It ain't for me.
Mm-hmm.
One, I'm not super big into religion. I call myself right now trying to find, that's the last little thing, you know, I know where I am family with my family. I know where I am with my career. My spirituality is the last thing I'm really trying to figure out exactly where I want to be with that.
Okay. All right.
But what he doing with that Money Church thing ain't for me. I don't want you leading with money with my religion or my spirituality. That's me.
Yep.
But I start to question this whole prosperity preaching thing. I looked it up. I looked into it. This comes from the Protestant church. Health and wealth is they whole premise for behind what they believe in health and wealth, that you know, if you do this right religiously, God will bless you materially.
Right.
I'm not sure if that correlates to me. What I do know is, as a Black man, our history with the church,
right,
Christian and Protestant and all that, has been quite spotty. And I don't know if I want to put my faith in a belief system that the folks that are giving us the most problem put their faith in.
Okay.
That's how I feel about that.
Okay. So there's several different things to touch on that. And I think a lot of it comes from not understanding the source material.
Okay.
Now, is it that if someone uses something inappropriately, does that make the thing they use inappropriately bad?
And the people who's being used against eyes, yes.
Okay.
It's all about perspective. For example, I don't think guns are bad. But if you aiming one at me, oh, it's bad.
Okay.
I'm not afraid of you. I'm afraid of what you can do with that gun.
It's the person, right?
It's a combination. It's a combination. Have you ever seen the movie The Book of Eli?
Yes.
Okay, they were searching for the Bible, right?
Well, no, he had it.
Eli had it, but the villain in the movie was searching for it.
To get it. Yeah,
right. He was searching for it because he knew the words in the Bible would give him the ability to control people. So it is how you use the tool, but the tool itself can be you can look at it as a person being victimized by the tool. That's a bad thing.
Okay, let me compare
At
it
the
to something
same
else.
time, a person who's gaining from that tool, it's a good thing.
Okay, so but does that make the tool bad? Because now I'm a draw a parallel. Money.
Right.
People use money for nefarious purposes all the time.
Correct.
But then people also use it for benevolent purposes.
Correct.
Is money
What's
bad?
written on the money?
Yeah, and well, it's in God we trust.
In God we trust. I've been looking for God the whole time, and it's been in my pocket. Come on now.
Oh, now you know what? But no, I'm not gonna say that because that's just a written word. That's just a written thing.
Because the Bible is written words.
Well, it is, but it's derived from either personal accounts from way back in history, or people that's been inspired to write those accounts. But what I'm getting to is that, I guess what I'm trying to say is, just because somebody used it for something nefarious or evil, that does not make the thing they use for evil bad. That just, they used it in an improper way. So in this context, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, people use the word of the Bible for their own gain all the time. And what happens is they take what it says and they pick out and they say it in a way to suit what they're trying to do.
Okay, correct. Okay, let me ask you this.
All right.
Your church, you in the church.
Yep.
What's the population of your church look like?
We are at a small church. We have probably about 25 members. So it's small. Demographically, demographically, it is more women than men, but that's not because of the men who are in these families are there. So I don't think my church is a good representation. I know where you're going, and I know what you want to say. And my church not a good representation of that.
Okay, well let's look at the big mega churches.
Yes.
Look at their demographics.
Yes.
That's by and large women and children.
Yep.
And it's not even clear. If you just take the adults, it's by and large women.
Yep. The women bring the children.
Right. So what's happened, whereas the black church used to be where a place you could go to see strong black men.
That's right. That's right.
So what's happened where that's no longer the case? You got the pastor, a couple few deacons, and sprinkles of men in the audience. It's no longer a base of black men in the black church.
I would agree.
Why do you think that is? As a man of God, why do you think that is?
And this is purely my opinion. There are a couple different things that feed into this. One, I don't think people are teaching the entire Bible. They don't do enough teaching. It's more of, I'm talking to you, I'm preaching at you. Whereas the richest part of this comes from the study and then the back and forth about what's going on, and then the meeting of the minds. That's where you get the most out of it. But a lot of people are focused on the preaching part, and I don't think that's good. I think it needs to be more teaching, because the thing about the Bible is that there are things that's considered soul salvation kind of things.
Right. But
the actual meat of it comes from the instructions on how to do certain things. There's a lot of wisdom in there that a lot of things are based on. Like in business, there's a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. It comes from the Bible. A lot of things like that, a lot of lessons that still hold true. So I think if we teach more of that and don't just talk at people, I'm about to go there. Okay.
Go ahead, Doc. This is the platform for that. We going there. Go ahead.
There are some pastors preachers or people that give the message that spend their time berating men.
Yes.
And that's not good either, because why would you want to go to a place where somebody always telling you because you're a man, you know, you this way, you that way? That's not what we do where I'm at. That's not what I do.
I don't even think that's it. I think it's not that they're telling men we need to tighten up. It's that they're telling men we need to tighten up while holding nobody else accountable for anything.
I was getting to that.
Including themselves.
I was getting to that.
And also, all right, I need to tighten up, Pastor. Cool. And I'll be here. I'll come and I'll participate, but I want some say-so.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just going to be here and you just say whatever you're going to say out your mouth and there's nothing, you know, there's no structure. I think church has lost a lot of structure.
Mm-hmm.
I think you got the pastor and he want all the power.
Mm-hmm.
But just like anything else, if I put my money in it and the bottom line, the church survives off the tithing.
Mm-hmm.
If I put my money in, I want some say-so.
Well, let's look at this. I'll compare it to like a job.
Uh-huh.
There is a leader, a manager that kind of gives the direction in which to go.
Correct.
And then there are workers that go there. Now, you know the difference between a good leader and a poor leader.
Correct.
That goes for the church also.
Yes.
There has to be, you have to find a good leader that will encourage you to grow, encourage you and challenge you. They have to earn that leadership spot. And what's happening to me, I think mega churches are not good. I think they've grown too big in a point to where the pastor or even the people that work under his influence can't guide the men that's in there because it's too many. In smaller settings, it's a lot better. But also there is the leaders. Again, remember I said it's a lot of knowledge in the Bible. It's a lot there. And I wish I can remember that scripture where it is, but it talks about the qualifications of a deacon. It talks about the qualifications of a pastor or a bishop. I think people should read that and use those qualifications to determine if the person they follow and fit it. And if they don't follow them.
That's true. You definitely got to have a criteria for who you want to have as your leader, period. If you're going to have a leader, you definitely should have a criteria for that person that's going to be in that leadership position. I believe it's a lot of playing to the crowd in the church versus playing to the word of God. People I'm trying to get butts in the seats. So they're saying things that people want to hear. They're saying the things that the people in the church who are primarily women and children, and the only ones out of that group that got money are women. They're saying the things that they want to hear and letting that be what it is to get butts in the seats. And I think that's why you see less and less men, like you say, the church berating men, saying men need to do this, men need to do that, or whatever, which is not untrue, but to just say some stuff without any direction, which is what you were just talking about, or instruction, is a waste. And also, if you're going to hold me to something, then the other side of that is I get to hold you to something.
And that's part of those qualifications.
That's how accountability works.
Those qualifications list that, and they're not a one-time qualifications. They exist for a while. But there's also scriptures in the Bible that talk about, pastors that always putting out sweet words. They won't have a lot. But if you're saying something that's bitter, you're going to have a little bit. It says that. It's all in there. Everything is in there.
I think a pastor's supposed to do both.
Well, and I think their job, the roles and responsibilities of a pastor encompass a lot of things. Now, what you're thinking about is the preacher part. But a pastor has to be able to They liken it to a shepherd with a flock of sheep.
Okay.
And what the shepherd does is the shepherd does everything for the sheep. They guide them to where the pasture is so they can eat. They protect them from the wolves, but they also keep them sheared so they're not have an unhealthy amount of wool. But also, if that one sheep get lost in a ravine, the pastor go down and find them and pull them out. So it's more than just that. They have to be able to do all of those things and look at and help cultivate the people.
Right. Well, I don't think that's happening enough. I think a lot of the pastors aren't being shepherds like they should be. I think a lot of the pastors saying, "Hey, we here today. We love to see you," and then when they go and sit, there is no guidance. There is no holding them to a certain place and keeping them in the pasture and protecting them and all that. It's just, hey, going out there and bring a friend.
I'm gonna this is gonna be so crude, but I'm gonna show you something. And how this works.
Okay.
You ever heard of a bell curve?
Yes.
Okay, bell curves. So bell curves, for people who don't know, it's a curve and it looks like this, right?
Yeah, we can't. Okay, there it is. We see it a little bit.
So here, most people fall in the middle, right? Whatever you study, it falls in the middle. Outliers are on the sides. That's why it's low. So if you take the number and then the number goes here, outliers, right? Most people are in the middle. Okay, now watch this. There's a thing too called an inverted U.
Okay.
Inverted U is the bell curve, but upside down.
Right.
Right? Looks like this. See what's in red?
Yep.
So, all right, watch this. The bell curve that goes up, this one here that goes up, these are all the pastors in the world, right? Most of them in the middle. So most of them in the middle doing the right thing, right? The inverted U part is how they are heard and who gains the most spotlight. So if you look at this bell curve, the pastors that's over here, that's the outliers that's maybe doing the wrong thing, have the loudest voice.
Right.
So we compare all pastors to this instead of this, because they have a low voice and they don't be seen. So
your argument is the loud minority is overwhelming the silent majority.
Yep, because they out there working and doing what they have to do.
Well, then, okay. Well, let's look at the outcomes. Let's look at the results.
Okay.
Do you think the Black church is helping people or helping itself?
I think they are helping people, but here's the issue I have. I think they are helping people, but they're not helping people the way that the public wants them to help people. People have in their mind what a church supposed to do, right?
Right.
And they want church.
We got that old civil rights image in our head.
And they are helping people, but people want them to be, they want them to sustain folks. They want them out there paying bills for people. They want them out there, doing all of these things. And all of that is good. And I think a lot of churches do that. But some churches focus on the spiritual welfare of their people. And it doesn't look the same. And I know both are connected. But if you see someone and you say, oh, it's a church right there, but they not walking the streets and they not protesting, they not doing all this stuff, you think it's not a good church. But they've been there with open doors to try to teach children and teach young adults the right way to go, but people don't go there. And when they go out, you know what happens? They close the blinds and peek out at them.
Yeah. Well, I agree I can only serve as a church. I can only serve the people who come. The doors. That's why they have the phrase, "The doors of the church are open."
Church open.
What my argument is, are those doors welcoming?
Oh, I got something. Go ahead.
Are those doors welcoming to us as Black men? And are the lessons being taught in those doors beneficial to me?
Whoo, you hitting it. I like that. All right. My answer to that is I think that tradition gets in the way of progress and a lot of things that should be done.
Okay.
People do things the way that they've always been done, and they believe things that are not true because they've always been told that they are true. And this is what affects the Black man in regards to the church. That is the big thing, that whole tradition part. But I'm going to go back and say that it's imperative that if people choose to go to church and to follow a church or to talk to people, it's imperative to vet the pastor and the people in the church, because I want to go back to what you said about how they treat people and being welcoming. To vet those folks and see if they hold up to what the Bible said they should be. And if they don't, then you scoot away. And a treasure is a hard thing to find, right? Buried treasure is a very hard thing to find. Right. I'm not gonna go out in my yard, dig and find a treasure chest full of gold coins and doubloons.
Right.
I have to search and find those things.
Correct.
Finding a church that cultivates your relationship with God or your spiritual side is like a treasure hunt. It's going to take a while, but most people give up before they even start hunting good. And also, I will levy this complaint against a lot of churches that I've seen and that I've heard about. Some of them are not welcoming,
right,
to people, and that's not right. That is absolutely not right. If you find a church that's not welcoming in that way, leave it alone. That is not it. It's our job as people in the church to welcome all people in. And it's not, you gain a certain understanding. The more you study this stuff and learn about it and see how it compares, you gain a certain level of understanding, and it changes your viewpoint of the world. And one big understanding that I have gained over the years is that I'm not always right. And that I don't have a place to judge people and to keep them away from wanting to better themselves. So what's happening is when people are not welcoming, they have prejudged people. And it's up to them. It's up to the person that teaches them and shepherds over them to issue that correction. Again, we talk about the sheep in the flock.
So I think you and I both feel there's a lot of pastors out here not quite doing the job the way it is stated, the way it's drawn out in the book they're supposed to be following.
Some don't. But I will also say this: the job of a pastor is not an easy one.
No, I don't think anyone who spent any time in the church believe that, because just anybody who's done any type of management knows dealing with all the type of personalities is hard enough in itself. You're not going to please all the people all the time. It's not going to work out like that.
No. Well, I'm not even talking about pleasing folks, because when you talk about pleasing people right now, at that point, you off base.
I don't necessarily. What I'm saying is,
well, not you, but I mean,
I'm saying every decision you make, some folks gonna like it, some folks ain't.
Yep.
But you, like you say, it has to be based in. We trying to do something here and long-term success, and how do you grade the long-term success of a church if it's not in the outcome produced by its people?
I would agree.
Are these people spiritually based? Do these people have a belief in our case, we're talking about the Black church, Christian church, do they have a belief in God and Jesus Christ and all of that good stuff? Do they live in that way? I don't think we're having success in that matter, because I don't think the majority of people that attend these churches, Black churches, are turning around and living Christian lives.
Oh, let's talk about that. So what I think the folly of many people is that they have an expectation that people in the church supposed to be a certain way, right? That's the expectation. So let me ask you this. In a hospital, do you expect the people that visit the hospital and in the hospital getting treated, do you expect them to be well?
No. They're in the hospital getting treated for something. I expect them to end up getting well, yes.
So that's what the church is. Everybody is getting treatment for some spiritual issue that they having, and I'm
gonna challenge that.
All right, let's go.
You in the hospital, you go see the doctor, you want to get well. He prescribe a course of medication for treatment, correct? You have to follow that course of medication, correct?
Yep.
That course of treatment, right?
Yep.
And if you can stay on that course of treatment, you will get better. Yeah. Well, the folks that's going to the church ain't following the course of treatment.
So whose fault is that? Is that the church fault, or is that their fault?
That's the question. Is the treatment they're being given, or is the treatment they're being given correct first?
Okay.
Two, if I'm prescribing you with something, I need to be following up and making sure you're doing it.
But regardless of that, I will say this: if the people not doing it and you getting them to do it, people gonna do what they want to do. I mean, that's just it. It's kind of like when you are prescribed antibiotics,
right?
And you get that pack that have like you take the 5 this day, 4 this day, right, and all the way down to 1, right?
Yeah, Z-pack. Yeah, I got you.
And they tell you to take the entire package, right?
Right.
But a lot of people, they get to day 3 and they start feeling better and they stop. Is that the doctor's fault that they stopped? They come back when they sick again. So right, the church should function in the same way. I don't think it's fair to levy the failure of a person to keep up with their prescribed thing. I don't think that personal responsibility comes into play here. So it's not the church responsibility for the whole thing. Now, church got responsibility for a lot of it, but not all of it. Some of it got to fall on the person. Because, if it was up to me, everybody would be doing the right thing. All of them would. All of them would be getting the lessons.
Right.
But some of them can't. And then again, I'm going to go to that whole mega church, small church thing. In a small church like mine, if they're not taking all of their pills,
right,
the pastor can go out and call them and say, hey, what's going on? And that happens. I can call them. We band together and say, all right, we're going to help you get through it.
Okay.
So smaller churches, we have that.
Then this takes me back to it not being enough men in the church to hold themselves and the rest of the people accountable. That's where the issue of accountability comes in. Okay. Now, listen, I'm not saying women don't, but historically, men are far more structured than women. We do a lot better job with holding ourselves and other people accountable. Women tend to be nurturers and, it'll be okay, it'll be all right. And men tend to need to tighten the hell up. That's kind of how that works. So if the pastor is giving out the prescription but doesn't have the individuals around him to help him make sure the prescription is given out, what does he need to do to attract more of those people? How can he get more men back into the black? The population of black men in the church has fallen off precipitously. I mean, it's down.
That's true. It's way down.
So what does the black church have to do? Like, you take somebody like me. I'm out here. I'm kind of I don't know about the Christian church. I like some of the concepts of the African spiritualism. I understand the Christianity. I understand some of the Islamic teachings and all of that. I'm well versed in all the different religious cultures of the world. I'm taking time to study a little bit of it. what does the black church, and that's what we're talking about, because we black men in America, primarily Christian country, what do they need to do to get a brother like me? I'm on the fence.
Okay.
What can they say to me to get brothers like me to come back to the church and be a part of it? Because right now I look at the church and I say, there's some foolishness going on over there. They're not talking to me. They're talking about me, not to me, not with me, not trying to help me. They just shooting the bow to me real fast. What do they do to get somebody like myself to come back?
All right. There are a couple different things, a couple different points to address here. The first one is a huge problem.
Right.
I think that media, social media, our own people have cast negative light on the church so much till people automatically believe a certain thing. Because when you say church, the first thing people think of is they there to steal my money. That's the first thing they think of. And then they say,
it's not the first thing I think of, but the first 2 or 3 things I think of are not positive. None of them are positive.
And what I'm gonna draw your attention to again is this.
Okay.
Remember what we talked about with that? This is happening. This is happening. So we have to overcome this thing, this inverted U, along with the bell curve, in order to get to a point where people even willing to check it out and say, you know what? Maybe this stuff not true. You know, I hate when people, I hate strong word. I really dislike when people say that the pastor or the preacher's there just to steal your money. You can't, if you are a pastor or preacher, you're not allowed to have anything. You just not, because if you get a car or you buy something, you stealing money automatically. It happens. But ain't nobody said nothing when the Black Lives Matter lady took all that money and been buying them houses. It's the same thing. Ain't nobody said a word.
Okay, I'm gonna say this as a man and looking at the church and how the money is spent. If the church is a large enough congregation, I expect the pastor to live good, because they should appreciate his service and pay him a salary according to that. You know, your pastor should have a salary, 70,000, 80,000, 100,000, whatever the size of the church is. If you got a huge church and I got a huge job to do, you know, the pastor of St. John, which is one of the larger churches in Savannah for the rest of the world, it's gonna have a different salary than the pastor of your church who got 25 people.
Look, I'm gonna tell you what, and I'm gonna tell you an example of a good pastor and a good man. And I'm not saying that because he's mine, but I will tell you this: this man has been the pastor of this church for 18 years and not taken a single paycheck. For 18 years, not taking one.
Y'all just send him on vacation or something then. Y'all just send him out. Y'all need to send him out and go have him a good time for a few weeks.
I mean, we have to make him do it. We have to make him take stuff. But what I'm saying is that good people are out there, and we letting this bell curve come up and have us thinking everybody like that because they have the loudest voices, but they not. It's people. I lead my life in a certain way. I lead my life in a certain way. So when people see me, they know what I do. I don't hide it.
Right.
I lead my life in a way so they say, you know what? Maybe all of them ain't half bad. Maybe all of them all right. So we have to overcome that part first before the negative stereotypes that we as Black people perpetuate on ourselves. And I mean, I'm going to go somewhere. Yeah. Okay, this is going to loop back around to the beginning about the they say that Christianity is the white man's religion. I'm gonna go back to that.
It wasn't what we practiced before we came here.
Well, but look at this. Look at this. I'm gonna show you something.
Okay.
I'm gonna show you something. Let me make sure I got the right one. And like I told y'all last week, I recently, we do the African kingdoms. I know where you're going now. Yep. Listen, I'm about to show you.
I absolutely agree. It's a remix. It's a remix.
I'm about to show you. So I'm gonna share the screen.
It's a remix. You right.
I'm gonna share it. All right. So that's the screen right there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you can see my mouse on there. Kind of. That's not where I want it. That was from the other one. Hold on. All right, here we go. Now, these are the main African, where the African tribes live, right? You see, I got all of them laid out. Now, I created this for a PowerPoint. That's part of what I do. I create assets for speakers. So here, right there, you see Christian Ethiopia, right? Now, and then you see over here is the Congo. Now, what happened is up here is where all the Christian stuff happened, right? Everything went down over here.
So,
right? Now, one of the dudes that was with Jesus in the beginning, one of the disciples, and you know, we gave him regular names we can understand, but it doesn't matter what he was called. He was from over here, right there. He was with him, wrote one of the books of the Bible. After Jesus died, what he did is he started churches here, right? Close to Egypt. That message also went down in like the 1500s to here, right? This is Christian Ethiopia. 1500. Slavery started in 1647 or something. So we're not even
1619
when they started taking them. Now, what happened here went over here to the Congo Kingdom, right? So Christianity was here, here, and here, right? Before they started taking slaves. So there were practicing Christians here before then. So what happened is a lot of the slaves came from all of these areas, specifically here in the Congo, and they were moved up here, right? They brought Christianity here. These people were taken over to where the Gullah people are now in Charleston, South Carolina. They took that with them, right? So therefore, saying that it's a white man's religion, when I just traced back from 0 AD to 1619, that Christianity existed in Africa and it moved about with the people. Now, here's another thing.
Like I said, I believe what we commonly know as the Bible and all that is a remix. I don't think that's we know the names ain't right.
Oh yeah.
Clearly the names ain't right. We know the images we've been shown isn't correct. So that being said, if I know the names aren't right, the images that haven't been shown aren't right, is it not highly likely that some of the wording's been changed? We already know it was a whole congressional about what went in the Bible and what came out. Then we know King James and them had they say. That's why it's called the King James Version. Not because of the words, not because of the way it was written, but because what went in it. That's why I say when I say it's a white man's religion, is because the version we got is the King James Version. The cut version. That ain't original, that ain't pure.
Well, but let me connect this thing together though. Earlier I said that someone that was there and helped to build that religion was the father of all, because he started all these schools across Africa. And the people that were taken into slavery was from these schools. Right? So therefore, they brought it with them. But I think that it was used against him. But it's something else I want to touch on, though. Because when people talk about that, they always talk about Egyptian religion.
You're talking about Kemet.
So here's the thing. Let's look at this map again. If Egypt is here, right? And we know that slaves were taken from here. The distance between these two is very great. Now, one would argue that maybe the Egyptians traveled and explored around. I looked at, there's no evidence of that. The one piece of evidence that they found is that over here on this coast, they found one Egyptian artifact. One. So if that is the case, why are we saying we should worship Egyptian figures when they had nothing to do with where we all came from?
No,
there is no connection.
I don't agree that we should worship the Egyptian figures either. You see, there's a place where there's a lot of different types of religion that you passing over as you.
There's a lot. There is
as you going through that continent. I still maintain that the version of Christianity we've been taught here,
right? Because
you know and I know, during slavery, we were given the slave Bible, and the version of Christianity we were taught here was formulated for us to be subservient beings to our masters. Well, that's what it was meant for. That's what it was meant for. Ain't no way around that, Mo. That's what it was meant for. Before they sent the whip, they sent the Bible.
I mean, you know what? I'm gonna agree with you on that. I'm gonna definitely agree with you on that. Now, I did all of that to connect back to the first question you said, and I'm not glossing over that. I'm not dodging it. We're gonna put a pin in that and come back to it. The reason why I went through all of that stuff just now is, how do we get black men back in the church? Well, one, we got to stop spreading this information about what's going on. Because one, we got the demonization of the church that's happening. And then we got the promotion of we should follow certain gods and goddesses that have no evidence of being, and the people didn't practice that of where we came from. So those two things combined, and then also the whole white man religion thing, it's hard to overcome that because people are still bearing the brunt of the effects of slavery. But now I'm going to say this about what's in the Bible, how you're teaching, and what's going on. I think we pay attention to the wrong things. We pay attention to all the wrong things. Pay attention to the instructions that tell you how to do things. And also, when you read it, don't just take one thing out of context or take one thing without reading the rest of it. I was always taught, when you read this stuff, read everything that come before it and everything after it. Here's a perfect example.
We some headline readers now.
That's what happens. But big example, I'm about to put this out here for you. The big one is about submission. Because people always look at the part where it says that the wife should submit to the husband, right? And they stop right there. Men stop right there. Wives stop right there. It's so bad I've tried to marry folks, and other pastors tell you the same thing. The wife will come up, or the fiance will say, "Don't say this part," because they're not doing it. I won't marry them if they say that. But the other part that come right after that.
Oh no, you're talking about obey. You're talking about
obey, submission, all of that. But what come after that is said that the husband should submit to the wife. But nobody talk about that part. See what I mean? How it's two things, and it gives you instructions on what to do as a husband. It says, it lays it all out. So that teaching is missing. The whole thing.
Right.
Not just the one part that suits a need. So regardless of if it's a white man religion or not, the teaching on how to live is there and how to go through it. And I think we don't dig into it enough. We don't look at the whole picture. There's a big picture to this. And what I found through my studies, a lot of this stuff in the instructions on how to live, a lot of them saying the same thing, the exact same thing. But we bash one over the up. I hate that word, bash. I don't want to say that. We don't trust one over the other because of the name it carries, or maybe the characters that are in the story, but they still say the same lessons.
Right. I agree with you there. I believe if you look throughout religion, most religion around the world, the basic principles are the same.
There's one truth.
Yeah, one truth. One God who loves you, and you should live your life in a way that benefits people, benefits man, benefits humanity.
Yep. Because love is the number one thing.
that's kind of solid throughout all religious ways, all of them.
And I do want to say again, I know I passed over some other nations and stuff like that. Because people going to say, oh, he just didn't talk about that. Now, I don't have the data on that.
You can't please everybody. Doc, don't worry about that. You can't please everybody. Look, we talking about what we talking about.
No, but I don't want what I said to be discounted, because it's my job to tell people the truth and to get through. I don't want it to be discounted, because they'll say, yeah, he didn't talk about that because he knew that wasn't true. Now, there's not enough information on that. Many of the things from those areas have been destroyed, taken, or hidden. We don't know. So I can't talk about that because I don't know. But what I can talk about is what I know about, and that's what I'm saying. The truth is in there, but we just don't take the time to dig it. And just like what we said earlier, enough people don't want to take responsibility for themselves. They want the church to do it all. And we can't do that. You have to participate in your own learning.
Okay, so all right. I'm gonna wrap all this up for us.
Okay, all right.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna do my okay. What it sounds like is, as a group of people, as a community, and I mean Black folks, we ain't doing enough studying, period. And when I say period, I'm talking about we aren't taking the time to educate ourselves on what our children have to look forward to in the world and making sure they're aware. And we ain't taking enough time to educate ourselves on how we want to practice our spirituality. And then as a result of that, nobody's really has any direction because they don't have enough solid information. So one, as parents, we spend more time with our kids, open the world up to them. As adults, looking for spiritual leadership, and I'm saying about us as men, we need to spend a little bit more time and effort really understanding each and every, like you said, take some time to really find a church or whatever religion you want to find. Take some time and look.
Yeah.
And make sure the leadership in that group is doing it according to the rules of that group. Because the Bible, like you said, the Bible lays out the rules. Is that pastor following the description, the job description? The Bible lays out the job description. Is he following the job description? If not, that ain't where you want to be. I think we got a like you said, a large number, a large enough number out there that's not following the job description. But we still got a lot of folks out there that are. And maybe they're not getting the publicity. I know, hey, good men in general don't get the publicity we deserve.
Same thing. The inverted U and the bell curve is happening. They work together.
We need to do some work, but I think this is a good conversation. I think we've had a great conversation this morning. I think there's a lot of information people could use and help try to get some guidance or some, at least nothing else, open the discussion up. Because I think there were a lot of things that were better when Black folks were more in the church. I think there's a lot of things that can be better as we currently are by becoming more inclusive in all of our adventures, all of our struggles, and all of our good, bad, positive. We need to become more inclusive. I think there's a lot of exclusionary activity going on in the Black community. So in closing, I just want to say, people, study, learn something, look at everything by the guidelines and the rules and the instructions, and make sure people involved in it are following them, and try to do what's best to make you a better person and a better man. What you got, Doc?
Well, again, y'all know what I am. And I don't comport myself to be anything different. I'm not going to down you. I'm not going to look down on you. I'm not going to disrespect you for whatever choices you make. I am open to listen. I'm open for questions. I'm not going to even do a gotcha. Some people you talk to, they try to get you and try to make sure to prove you wrong. That's not what I'm here for. I want to see people win. I want to see people start thinking for themselves and stop letting social media and other folks think for them. I want folks to look at source material and find out the truth, because sometimes the truth is in the very next verse, or you have to put it all together. And don't put everybody in the same basket. Think about the inverted U. You know, this whole thing is real. It applies to everything. Think about that. Take all that into consideration. I'm not going to push anybody one way or the other. If you got questions, put them down in the comments. If you want to just talk about it, let me know. I mean, we can come on here and talk about it. We can do it in private. Either one, I don't care. I'm here. I'm open. I just want to help.
All right, man. Thank y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed what we had this morning. For joining us for another episode of the Book of Man. We're gonna be here every week for different topics and discussions. Remember, like, share, comment. Let us know what we're doing. Let us know if we're talking right or talking crazy. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We out.
Later.